the world of beef is changing. And in September of 2012, CAPI, which is the Canadian Agri-Food Policy Institute, released a report that showed the Canadian industry, the beef industry, and how it was doing with exports and imports and the whole works. And it was pretty darn tough on our Canadian industry. And as a result of that, a meeting was held that brought the entire value chain together. And I was asked to moderate this meeting. And at the end of the meeting, I asked two questions. How was today? And the answer was, well, this was a good day. This was the first day that we've had the entire industry at the same table looking and doing things. This was a good day. And I said, okay, the next question is, what are we going to do about it? And a hush sort of come over the audience. And I said, well, here's a suggestion. Here's a guy over there by the name of John Cole. He was taking the notes. And I didn't really know John that well. And I said, John and I are going to write a strategy. And we know we won't get it right, but we're going to write something and we'll bring it back and we'll bring it forward. So we brought in another guy by the name of David Andrews, a veteran in the industry, very well respected. And we started to put together some thoughts on what we needed to do. And then we brought it back to this time to 150 people. And basically our thoughts were around what we called a straw man. And the straw man had a heart and 5 bones. And these were, the heart was, hey, we better watch the consumer here, because what she wants, if we're not delivering, then they're going to go somewhere else. The heart of the whole industry is keep your eye on the consumer. And then the bones were some specific actions that we thought should be done. So we brought this back in March, and people said, hey, this is pretty good stuff. This, why don't you flesh out and put some meat on those bones? So that's what we did, and we put some people around us who actually knew what the heck they were talking about. And then in November of this past year, we came and we unveiled what we thought was the thing. We got their robust dialogue, and then we wrote our report. Now, if you look and you say, well, what would we say that would help the industry? And the first one is, go back again, remember the heart. Keep your eye on the consumer. They are changing. They want different things. We must respond to that. The marketplace has changed. It's no longer supply push, it's demand pull, and we must respect that. By the same token, we need a strategy to be able to do this. And we need some information that flows up and down the system. We need some funding to be able to make this happen. We need to have the industry totally engaged and working towards this. And finally, we need to have a forum so that every place at the table is filled, so that we have the good input to be able to move forward. Those were the recommendations we have. And it's interesting to see that many of these recommendations, the industry is now picking up and moving forward, and we're delighted to do that. We're loving to see the fact that the cattle industry is putting together a strategy. We hope it's not just a cattle strategy, we hope it's a beef strategy. We're liking to see the information flow that's coming back and forth, and that's good. We're liking to see, and we recognize that funding is important, and you can't necessarily count just on government funding, that the producer and industry funding is going to have to become forward. We also see a challenge, though, that the industry wants to be engaged. And the Farm Credit Canada survey that was done, with the biggest survey that's ever been done in the beef industry, over 1,200 people, showed that they want to be engaged, they want to be involved, and they're not necessarily liking everything that they're seeing here. So we have a ways to go to be able to live to our potential. Let's remember, we're sitting in a pretty enviable place in the beef industry in this country. We are one of few places that can produce a way more than we consume. We have a quality product that is next to none. We have producers that are champions and want to be able to move forward. We have the technology to be able to advance things, but we got to put the pieces together to make it happen. And that is a challenge, and we must come together as a challenge to be able to do that. I suspect it's going to come fairly quickly. And I suspect it may be driven by sources other than ourselves at times as producers. You know, the McDonald's of the world with their verifiable sustainable beef initiative, and the fact that they want to work in Canada to be able to start this initiative, I think is so good. Wonderful. Let's work and let's embrace and let's make sure that we get it lined up right for us so that the rest of the world reacts to how we're going to do rather than us having to react to the rest of the world. I think that's good. The Loblaws of the world, the largest chain of consumers in Canada, what they're doing, what they're asking for is going to demand some things. And those are okay. But I think the whole industry needs to be involved, and the producers have to have their input and make sure that this works for them as well as hard as it works for everybody else. So the world of beef is changing. We are sitting in a very enviable position to be able to take advantage of that world of beef. And I think that the world can be our oyster if we just put it together. And let's take advantage and make Canada beef the product and the envy of the world that it really can and should be.